I ran for Congress because I know what it feels like to be a working class St. Louisan. Too often unseen, unheard, left out. St. Louis is built different. So am I, and so are we.
The problem solvers are amongst us. Cori Bush, Senator Nina Turner, and a few others. Not the majority. It's not a lot. But if you put them in office, they will fix it. Put it at full mass. Progressive and former representative for Missouri's 1st congressional district, Cori Bush, is launching her comeback. She's running for Congress again, coming back for her old House seat. We covered her extensively when she was targeted for dismissal by the Democratic Party. I'll get into that in a moment. Bush, a 2-term member of the so-called squad of progressive House lawmakers, was defeated in the August 2024 Democratic primary by current Representative Wesley Bell, purchased and paid for. Wesley Bell, yeah, I said it, purchased and paid for. Okay? Don't forget who bought you now. All right. Former county prosecutor. Nearly 2/3 of Bell's campaign funding came from one source. Let me say that one more time. Damn near 75% of the money that he fundraised came from one entity. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee's Independent Expenditures Arm and conduit for dark money. Dark money means you can't really trace all of it and the purposes behind it. The United Democracy Project, which allocated more than $100 million toward the defeating candidates, AIPAC, deemed insufficient because they did not support Israel. The whole reason you run to become an elected representative for the American government via the people in your community is because you actually are thinking about that community primarily. All right, so let's put it up. AIPAC's largest was stoked by Bush's steadfast advocacy for Palestine. Yeah. And staunch opposition to Israel's genocidal war in Gaza. It was Bush, who just over a week into Israel's genocidal retaliation for the Hamas-led October 7th attack, introduced the first House ceasefire resolution. She was more than harshly criticized for telling people to stop shooting. Ironic, isn't it? Ceasefire. Those who decided to call it what it was early, everybody knew it. Every Democrat was aware. Don't think Biden did not know. Of course, Harris knew. Every member of Congress was aware. They said it first because their conscience would not allow them to be in that position and not utilize the platform of influence to tell you the truth. But everyone knew it. And now the United Nations agrees. Multiple allied countries, they agree. International Criminal Court, well, they agree. But they lost their jobs for telling the truth. And not by way of Republicans, by way of the Democrats who we assumed would have their back. I mean, we're a big tent, right? Bush was also one of the first lawmakers to call Israel's annihilation and starvation of Gaza genocide. Our revolutionary executive director, Joseph Gear Vargas stated about Ms. Bush, quote, Cori Bush embodies the values of our movement. She is a nurse, a pastor, and an activist who rose up from Ferguson to fight for the working families in Congress. She has been a fearless advocate for Medicare for all, student debt cancellation, housing rights, climate justice, and an end to U.S. military support of Israel. Quote, that's why oligarchs and dark money super PACs spent millions to buy this seat and silence her voice. But they cannot silence the people she represents. And our revolution is proud to stand with her as she takes back the people's seat in Missouri's first. I'll put up that picture again. Wesley, sir, you're in trouble. Here's why. You see, they just needed people to be quiet long enough to get away with killing more folk and getting more funding to do so. Now that everyone is in on what Netanyahu and the military industrial complex of Israel was doing, you are expendable. I guarantee you they will not be paying you 75% of your campaign salary this time, sir. That will not happen. This isn't the first time AIPAC gave dark money to a Democratic candidate to defeat a progressive and Democrats. The Democratic gatekeeper said nothing. So Israel lobby flexes its millions to defeat Nina Turner again in Cleveland. Right there. Democratic super PAC condemned for sleazy and false attacks on Nina Turner, a sister that has always brought you her authentic self. One reporter described a new mailer which falsely accuses Turner of opposing universal health care and a higher minimum wage as wildly dishonest. And listen, the headlines go on and on and on and on. Dear sister, you know I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I want to properly contextualize how you're not simply fighting for voters. See, that would be simple. You're fighting against machine politics. You're fighting against absolute corruption. You're fighting against powerful allies who are also friends of people that's supposed to be friends. We call them powerful allies because they're Democrats, but they're not kinfolk. You are uniquely qualified to tell us the rest of the story, sister.
And thanks, Dr. Richey, and to the team. I mean, I'm really happy that Congresswoman Bush is going to run this race again. Certainly the American people are more in tune to what AIPAC is. Organizations like DMFI, the Democratic Majority for Israel. Check that out. In the name, they letting you know this is not about America. And any other dark moneyed or corporate type groups should not have outsized influence on any primary, but especially on Democratic primaries when you're running to represent your district. And I can tell you, Doc, my race, the special election of 21, was the canary in the coal mine. They tried it on me first. And as a matter of fact, the head of DMFI has some type of quote, and I'm paraphrasing them, but just delighted in trying, stopping me from winning that race, and basically said, that they had tried similarly they did the same thing to Senator Sanders, albeit a little differently, but for him, and they were happy to take out, I think he said, his number one lieutenant or something like that. So just delighted, and also made it clear that the Ohio 11 race in 2021 and then the regular election cycle of 2022 was the testing ground for their strategy to take out other progressives. And if you fast forward to what happened to Congresswoman Bush and what happened to Congressman Bowman, where they spent about 20-something million alone just in Bowman's race, they tested it in Ohio 11. And just as Wesley Bell was ready, willing, and able to totally sell out $12 million, that AIPAC trackers. That AIPAC tracker, Doc, didn't exist when I was running, but I'm really happy that eyes are opening. It wasn't enough to help me in 21 or 22. In 21, Doc, in May of 21, I had a 30-point lead over my next highest, right? You supported me, Jink did, the TYT family, 30 points ahead in that special election, and they walked me down. And not only was it Israel First type groups, they also had the benefit and the help of people like Hakeem Jeffries, who came into the Ohio 11th and campaigned against me. They had the Black Caucus that campaigned against me. They had Democratic neoliberals who piled on in an open Democratic primary. And I get it now, Doc. They saw me as a threat. Because if they got to look at me, they see their deficiencies and not truly standing up and fighting for the people. And when I tell you I was threatened and told that there was no significant difference domestically between myself and the person who has that seat right now, that all these people cared about was Israel. Now here I am trying to run a race in Ohio 11th, trying to get elected to serve the people of Ohio 11th in a city, primarily the mothership city, where 1 of every 2 children live in poverty. And I am told to my face that none of that mattered to these people. It was only about Israel. They also said to me, if you don't denounce the squad, of which the Congresswoman was a part of at the time, and the other sisters that are a part of it, that they were going to come at me with all they had, and that Palestinians had no rights that the state of Israel had to recognize. And you know what I told them, Doc? I said, you're going to have to come at me with all you got, because I'm a humanitarian. I believe in peace.
That's right.
Security and self-determination for both peoples. And this was way before October the 7th.
Yep.
And as you laid out with those clips, what they did in the district was to say I wasn't sufficiently loyal to the Democratic Party, that I was going to give Biden a hard time. You daggone right, I was going to give him a hard time if he not using that power to stand up for the people. And then the lies that they told, that Nina Turner is not for Medicare for all, and just all the things that I helped run side by side with Senator Sanders on, Doc. It was outrageous. So I am happy that the people of this country are waking up. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, that congresswoman on the other side of this thing. I mean, this thing is really bringing people together. And I do hope that Congresswoman Bush, I hope she's able to regain that seat, the people's seat.
You know, Senator Turner, I've learned something by studying prolific and profound public servants like you. And there's this thing now that I do. And it's my thing. It doesn't have to be everybody else's thing. When you have an elected official, especially a Democrat, who votes a particular way, traditional Democrat, maybe progressive here and there, but their story, they don't come from a struggle. They did not choose to be a servant prior to running for office. You see all these professional checks. And so the next job becomes the professional politician. It's a job for them. But for people like you, people like Cori Bush and others, you come from somewhere. I come from somewhere. We carry those people with us everywhere we go. We carry those struggles. We carry those experiences, exposures, and environment. And so now I look at not really how you say or what you say on the stage. You got to say the right stuff, obviously. But if you don't come from grit, if you haven't done that part, if you could not become out of unbecoming, if you didn't figure that part out, I don't think you have the capacity to lead in this arena today. Am I wrong for that, sister, to
No.
add that now to our
No,
Democratic?
No, amen, Doc. I mean, that's really what is needed. People who purely care about the people and have some history, some experience. I mean, you don't always have to have the exact experience. When I think about FDR, even though his administration was far from perfect when it came to race, and thank God for First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, who
Yeah.
tried to open up his mind a little more.
Right.
They were ultra wealthy, Doc, ultra
Yep.
wealthy. But yet they had a world view for the average working class people. But that extra on there is people
Yep.
who have a type of lived experience. And in that Congress, it is becoming a place where working class people like you, like me, like Bush, like Bowman, and others that I am not naming, that we're being priced out of being able to run for those offices. And so when you don't have people who have that kind of lived experience, something is indeed lost. And you know what, Doc? They thought they were going to stop me. I may not have ascended to that office, but baby, I am out there just as if I would have, because it wasn't necessarily just about the title. The title was good, but the purpose is better. And I am still out here living out the purpose of lifting up the everyday working class people in these United States of America and understanding there's a connection between us and other working class people from all backgrounds all over this world. Doc, they thought they was going to stop us, sister, but I am still here.
Amen to that. It's because you're not a politician, which requires validation. You're a public servant, which requires activation. And you have achieved the greater. All right, we'll bring updates to this as they develop. Obviously, we're pulling for it.